I'm right south of there, you know, Capitol.
I know exactly.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting. Today is September the 6th, September the 16th, 2019. We do have a quorum, and I call this meeting to order. I need a motion to approve from the last meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. There's some things that's not on this list that I want to start out with. Being I'm the chairman, I guess I can pull rank a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about is Mr. Bob Simon. He had open heart surgery. He was in intensive care, and now and then he went to a room, and then they put him in rehab. And now he's back in the room because he was having problems, I think, being weak and not eating and stuff. So we definitely want to think about Mr. Bob. He was at the ballpark last week when it was 100 degrees, supporting Laverne as usual. My next thing is I would like to introduce our two newest members. I'll let them tell you their names and just a little bit about them. Maybe how long you've been in Laverne, what you do, and what you think you would like to achieve by being on this Park and Recreation Board. The first person will be to my left, Mr. Jensen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. My name's Jensen Abear. I've lived in Laverne for 5 years in the Lake Forest subdivision, and my background's in IT, but I also do a lot of volunteer work because of my company. It's part of our core values, so we reach out to the community a lot, so I'm able to see a lot of things. And just in my time here at Laverne, I feel like I can contribute in trying to help beautify the city, because I know we have a great city with a great heart. It just hasn't received all the care that it's needed over the years, and I'm hoping that we can keep moving forward and keep improving, because that's what we're all here to do. And I feel like I can offer some insights in what I've seen around since I've been here and make our city a better place.
All right, and to my right is Miss Carol.
Hi, and thank you for allowing me to be on the board. I appreciate it. I've been a citizen of Laverne since 1997, so that's 22 years. My son and Alderman No's son grew up together, played football together, and at that time I was in the Army Reserve, so I couldn't do a lot of things within the city. So once I retired, I got interested in the city and want to do things to help the community and volunteer in the city. And so with my military background and working at Vanderbilt University, I think I will be an asset.
All right, thank you. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up, because it's not on the agenda, and maybe David or Ann was going to talk about it, but I want to know what's going on, because I hadn't heard anything, and we've had a little bit of a shake-up in our Park and Rec department, is I want to know about the Grand Marshal thing.
We have received all of the nominations. I believe that it closed either Monday or sometime last week. So I just need to get those applications with the blind, so the names are all blacked out and everything, contact information to David. And then he and whoever he chooses to sit on that meeting with him will go through and pick out who they want to serve as Grand Marshal, and I'll give them those, that name and that contact information, and we'll start going through that list of, who's ready, who's willing, who's able, and of their first choice down, and we'll go from there. But that's where we're at on that.
Okay. So, David, once you give that to David, you'll contact whoever you feel like needs to.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the information. It's definitely not a call I want to make on my own. I think that would be a conglomerate, decision instead of just one or two people. I think, something like that, majority would probably rule. So I don't really know how we're going to approach it at this point until we get to things. We won't have I don't think we'll have it. Whatever we decide would have to be done quickly so we can get all the people in.
Exactly. That's why I brought it up and wrote it down, so I wouldn't. And I wasn't trying to throw you under the bus, Ann, but it wasn't on here, and I wanted to talk about it.
Well, and I had mentioned to them last week we needed to do that first thing Monday, and it slipped our minds, slipped the calendar's mind, I guess. And I will make sure I get that to David first thing in the morning, and we'll go from there and make sure we get the
So am I
information done tomorrow.
to assume that this board will not be, all of us will not be privy to that?
Well,
That's David.
I definitely will. I mean, I'll reach out to you as soon as we get the information and see how you want to proceed further than that. Like I said, that's definitely not something that I want to take on my own, nor do I think that should be, one or two people's decision. I think the more people you have looking at it, the better. I don't think taking you guys out of play would be prudent on our part. I think you guys, your voice is as important as ours is. They're saying there may be some people on there that I'm not aware of.
Exactly, and that's so. Kathy, with an I, and this is an ideal. And David, can you send the Park and Rec an email like you have been with everybody on it, and then all you guys reply back individual. Don't reply back as a group. Is that doable? Does that sound okay?
Is it that you're wanting all the blind applications for
List of the
to vote?
nominations.
How many's on that?
I want to say there's at least 6 or 7 names.
Oh, yeah.
There have been multiple applications for different names, and then, of course, some people have been nominated who can't serve because they were previously. So I would
Yeah.
have to go through and get that exact number. But if you want the full application, I'll just need to get that together for you.
Yeah, I'm sure Ms. Skinner's been nominated several times, but you've had it before. So that may very well narrow our choices down. It may go from 6 to 3 pretty quick.
She'll probably know some
I'm
of
not
the.
saying that you don't deserve it again.
Thanks a lot. Well, I
Hey,
could.
I'm going to throw David a rope or a ladder here and see if he can get out of that
I
hole.
want to throw
Give it
some,
to you every year.
and well,
you gotta
I
take
won't-
me out of it.
I won't be here old timer stay.
Right.
No, but you can still reply back individually, not as a group,
Right.
to Kathy's email, and just, then we can, if all of us narrow it down to a couple of people, then maybe, instead of you, because I know you're busy.
Well, and it's hard for one person to make that
Yeah.
call. Like I've known Ms. Skinner probably since I was 12. So, something like that, the more eyes you get on it, it takes all the questions out of it.
Okay, that's fine. Like I said, Ann, I wasn't trying to throw you under the bus. It
No,
just
that's okay. My only request for it would be just reply within the day. We will make sure that we get those out tomorrow to you, but please reply within the day so that we can go ahead and start contacting the winner.
Okay.
If you will, and make sure that we go ahead and make sure they can serve, and we can go down kind of a list of highest voted to lowest voted, if you will, because if they don't want to, then we need to go to the next name.
All right. With that being said, we'll go ahead and move on and talk about opening day of baseball and softball. And I'll turn that over to Mr. David.
I believe.
Can I say something before he does?
Yes, ma'am.
I've been up there several times. Got out, walked around, got tired, got in the car, kind of sat and watched all these kids playing ball. Then I went home.
Wore yourself out too quick. You wore out too quick.
Well, no, I mean, there's just so many little teams here and a team there and a team here. I couldn't get to all of them.
That's good, though. I like your participation. I like you going up there. As a matter of fact, I love that and encourage it.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave.
Well, I may have the date wrong. I think it was September the 4th. Is that right?
yes, it was.
2 Wednesdays ago. I believe they have 12 teams total, which is more teams than they had in the spring. So they are growing the league. We had our chairman, Alderman No, there, Alderman Church. I don't want to start naming names because I'm going to miss somebody. Chief Clark threw out the first pitch. It was a pretty decent crowd, actually.
Carol came up.
Carol, yep. See that, Miss Kathy.
Kathy was there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start Jensen. You were probably there and I didn't even see you.
I could not make it, unfortunately, no.
See,
There's a story behind that, so we won't go into it. But
But I think it was a pretty successful opening fall ball day.
I thought so too. I thought the kids, the strikers are doing a really good thing about the money situation. Now, I've heard rumors about some things, but it's just rumors, and I don't care much for rumors. And the one person, though, that has really put her nose to the grindstone with this is Melissa Joyner. And I'm going to praise her every chance I get. So, does anybody got any comments about opening day or baseball or anything?
Well, Jaden decided to play again. He went from T-ball, which was his first season, to the pitch baseball. And last week he actually made his first run. We were so excited. He hit the ball. It took him about 7 or 8 times to hit it. But
So he went to coach pitch.
yes. Yes.
Good for
coach
him.
pitch.
Good for him.
And he hit it, and he got a run all the way to home base. Not
know,
a home run, but
It's nothing like it. Any-
Before we move on, I think the Strikers are interested in renewing. They signed a 1-year contract in February. I believe it was February this past year. They're interested in having that extended for a minimum another year so they can go ahead and get the jump on the spring season. I think they were so far behind last year that may have something to do with their numbers being down. It's probably going to come before the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, so just to kind of give you guys a heads up, they are interested in moving forward.
So now, I just want to make sure I understand this. I'm glad you brought that up. The only thing that requires them to move ahead to next year is you coming before us at the board meeting and saying they want to go forward and then we vote on it? Or do they have to submit a whole new?
No, they wouldn't have to submit. It wouldn't have to go back out for bid. You could go, there are some changes that they'd like to see addressed in the packet, which we'll present them to you tonight to kind of give you a heads up so you won't be caught off guard at the BOMA meeting. They won't, all it'll have to do is come back before you guys to extend their contract out. So you can generally a contract is 1 year up to 3, and generally anything after 3 it rebids. But something this where they're trying to build a league, 2 or 3 years in it, if you wanted to keep extending that would be the city would have that option.
What I don't want to do is I don't want to wait till December. I want to do it.
Well, and I think that's what he's getting at also. His organization is, they were scrambling in the spring, and they did delay their starting time just because their numbers weren't there because they did have a late start.
Yes, I agree.
If he wants some kind of, something concrete where he's going to be the guy for the next year, so he can go ahead and getting those wheels in motion, where he can get his advertising out there and get everything out there, his price, start early sign-ups. So if they know in November that Laverne's going to have spring ball and we're not going to be scrambling again, I think just seeing what he's done in the fall league and their organization, I think you're going to be surprised at the numbers that come up in the spring.
Well, I can say a big attribute to that was lowering the prices and making it competitive to bring kids back, because it is quite unusual to have usually spring your numbers are the highest, and to have higher numbers in the fall was a good thing for the Strikers. So now, David, I am concerned. I would like to know what those proposed changes or things are, being a board member and then also being involved with the group. Will you be sharing that information with us?
I'm prepared to share it now. The only change that he has really brought forth that they would like to see addressed in their contract, of course, other than extending it, is right now they are, per their contract, if they hold a tournament weekend, they're obligated to pay the city $1,500. What he wants to do is basically break that down to a per complex instead of lumping both complexes in together. If he's only using 4 fields at one quad, instead of having to pay for both, just have to pay for what they're actually using. So instead of both quads at $1,500 for a Saturday and Sunday, we could break it down to a Saturday and Sunday on one set of 4 fields to $750, or a one-day tournament would take those same 4 fields to $375.
Who makes that decision?
That would be, we would have to bring that before the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Is that something that he needs to come and talk to us about?
No, I think we can do that. Just send an email to Bruce, and he will put it in the packet, and we'll bring it before you guys. I do know that he does have a lot of his own personal money tied up, and he wants to keep the entry fees, 40. I would rather come to Laverne and pay $40 than go to a different city and pay $80 to $100 to $125 if I was a parent and had my kid in there, if at all possible. At that age, I know for $125 you would expect, the button-up shirt, the nicer hat, the socks. Here, if you can get by with $40, you're going to be comfortable with a screen T-shirt and a ball cap.
So let me ask you this, on the reduced rate, not using, how does that reflect on your all's overtime and time schedule if you don't have to fool with four wheels?
That's really not, it would help us out. It would help him out on the monetary side because, of course, he'd be paying less. It would help us out because it requires less manpower to do 4 fields as opposed to 8. Especially a one-day tournament opposed to a 2-day tournament.
All they got to do is mow it just to keep it looking good, but they don't do no striping or none of that stuff.
No, we would drag them prep them, and line them anyway at the beginning of each day. But it would definitely cut back on our manpower. It would save him money because he's only actually paying for what he uses. Actually, he wanted to break it down to a per field instead of per complex, which we felt if we were going to have to tie up our manpower anyway, we would prefer a 4-field minimum.
So if maybe I'm getting ahead of the game here, but I'm just trying to get a hold on this. So if, let's say that they use 5 through 8.
Yes.
Does that mean kids that play 1 through 4, that age group, they could actually schedule practices on that Saturday?
Yes.
Is that
because
my understanding?
That complex would be available. Now, what happens sometimes is you will schedule 4 fields, and then maybe at the beginning of the week, mind you, they're just a host, so very rarely do they put the tournament on themselves. Generally, it's an outside organization coming in looking for a venue to play that weekend. It could start out as 4 fields. It could be 4 fields for a month, and at the beginning of the week, leading up to that Saturday, they're going to need 8 fields.
Okay.
I would like to see more Saturday games because I can say that we only have out of 10 games 1 Saturday scheduled, and in the spring we didn't have any scheduled on a Saturday, at least the particular team that my granddaughter plays on. So that would be my hopes. Instead, I see games on Wednesday, which I'm not real thrilled about seeing the Wednesday.
Well, Wednesday used to be our the day that we didn't have any activities up there.
Right.
I wouldn't mind seeing that go back. I like the Saturday games too, but I know in the fall the numbers have always the coaches in any league we had, whether it be LBSA, LYBSL, RBI, if they could work it out between the coaches and the parents in the fall, and they could get their games in during the week because the numbers were so much smaller, then they all opted to have the Saturday off. Just because, with college football going on, high school football going on, Pop Warner football, there's so many other activities. That was an option where they worked that out amongst themselves. We try to give them the ability to do what's best for their schedule and their, because we don't really have control over their coaches or their parents, so it may be a unilateral decision where they say the Saturday games don't work for them.
I know that we did when the Tennessee Strikers came here and talked to our board. That was one thing that Alderman No had discussed about seeing more Saturday games. I do remember you.
So
I was under the impression we'd have more.
Like David said, once the season got started last year, I was told that they had a coaches meeting and the coaches all agreed that they would prefer not to play on Saturdays. I guess thinking back when I played and a coach, man, I wanted to play 7 days a week, coaching, playing, whatever. But also, as David said, we can't, even though, I guess in our contract, even though we say you got to play on Saturday, if they don't want to, or the coaches don't, particularly, I don't know. That's something that we probably need to get just a little bit more involved in come springtime, because I do want them back. I want to give them another season. I wanted to vote on it early, get it started early, but at the same time, I want to get a little bit more involved and see if we can critique.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the Saturday games. You know, we were raised at the ball field on Saturdays, and we're probably telling our age, but back then that was the big thing. I think now there are so many, and I haven't discussed it with the strikers. I think there's so many more outside activities that families get so busy that, you know, something has to be sacrificed. And unfortunately here, the last several years in Laverne, it's been the ball league. We'd definitely like to try to build it back up. And I think any organization that's running it, you know, is going to take at least some of those Saturdays and try to host tournaments, because if they're keeping their entry fees or their sign-up fees to $40, they're definitely losing money. They're not making money on the concession stands during the week at the games. It's just they may sell $50 worth of stuff, you know, just because families are eating either before or after. So the tournaments are what brings their revenue in for them.
I kind of
We don't
tend
want them
to.
playing. We don't want them hosting tournaments every weekend because we're just not physically staffed to do that either.
You make a valid point. If they can accomplish those tournaments and keep the cost down for our local children, I think that's wonderful. All right, it's getting late. Let's move on to the Miss Laverne pageant. Do I want to turn this over to Deborah, to Ann? I don't know who to turn it over to. I'll turn it over to David and let David pick.
I'm going to turn it over to Deborah or Ann or Kathy.
Anne, if you would like to start, and then I'd like to say some things at the end.
Definitely, yeah. So the pageant was, I guess it's been 2 weekends now. It went very well. We have new royalty. We had a few hiccups along the road, but I mean, it's, in my opinion, it's one of our more complicated events to put on for sure, and very time intensive. So a few hiccups is the least of my worries. We did spread it across 2 days this year. I think it went well. We just need to kind of re-workshop how all that works, and you know, if we want to switch days or times or go back to one day. It was a great experiment, and I think it worked well for us. I think it went well, and I know, I guess Steve came by. I didn't get a chance to see you on Saturday.
I did. That's what I was telling Deborah. I really enjoyed those little girls, man. They were rock solid. That was great. I had to go to work, so I couldn't stay, but those 5, 6, 7-year-olds, 8 maybe, I don't know, but they were rock solid. Alderman Melissa Brown was the MC, did a good job, and the judges, Larry Flowers and Miss Stevens, and those other 2 ladies were good, and you guys put on a good show. I don't know who did the decorating and stuff, but that was pretty cool. Anyway.
Yeah, it went well, and we did do talent this year, which I think went very well. We had a few, like I said, hiccups. It's the first time we've done talent, so we're just live and learn, and we had one girl do special effects makeup, which was really cool. She had a model and everything, and then we had one girl do a Rubik's Cube, and then, of course, the singing and dancing. And so it was really cool to kind of see that aspect be brought into it. I'm excited about, and I'm hoping that we can continue again next year.
I know you all will critique it a little bit. That's what I was telling Deborah. But I know there was concern, and I'm going to address this to you. There was some concern about the talent part. How do you think that went? I'm just throwing everybody under the bus, aren't I?
Other than the few hiccups, I think I enjoyed the talent more than I thought I would.
That's what I was asking, because I knew that you were one of the people that, you know, the talent was iffy, and I wanted to know how it went.
You know, I did question. We had a debriefing meeting already, and you know, I did talk a little bit about my concerns about it next year, and we've discussed that a little bit, and wondered if that held people or young ladies from entering the contest. But that's something we're talking about, and we'll be working on in the future.
Okay, good.
All right, I did have, if you're done, I did want to. I've been involved with the pageant. This was the 8th annual, and I did want to say special thanks to the pageant committee, Ann Smith, Montique Luster, Kamisha Sadler, Kathy Melendy, and Bethany Smith. I'd also like to give special thanks to the City of Laverne, for hosting us and supporting us for 8 years in a row. Laverne Middle School for providing us space. Laverne Parks and Recreation and staff for all the hard work they came and did all the hard work for us, and we really, truly appreciate that. Laverne Police Department for sending Officer Cherie. Special thanks again to Vice Mayor Melissa Brown. She did a great job as MC. I'd also like to thank the judges, Larry Flowers, Brittany Stevens, Taharia Gaines, and Crystal Combs. I wouldn't want that job for nothing, but they did a great job. I also like to thank volunteers, and I'm sorry I don't have all the last names, but Mildred, Alondra, Cheyenne Balthrop, Jordan Luster, and Jackie Garvin. Special thanks to our sponsors. This was the most sponsors that we've ever had, and very proud. A lot of people worked very hard to get the sponsorships this year.
Deb also worked very hard to get the sponsors this year, so I'm going to make sure you all know that. She was pounding the pavement, making sure we got who we needed to, and a few came in at the very, very, very last minute. But Deb did great. We got 2 new boutiques this year, which is awesome. And
I was just going to ask who went and got these sponsors.
typically it's me. I usually will run the sponsor gamut, but I'm already overwhelmed. So Deb usually will do it for the pageant. She did a great job this year.
All right.
So this year's sponsors are the City of Laverne, Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce, Taylor Farms, Laura's Boutique and Creations, TDS Telecom, which is another new one this year that Ann had got, Zara's Boutique, and Miss Senior Tennessee, and I believe that was it.
Walmart.
And Walmart, the big one. We had another big one, Walmart, this year, so that was it. I also like to thank from this ward, Alderman No, thank you for coming. We appreciate you being there. And also special thanks to Kathy Tyson for coming and supporting the pageant. And let me see. Also, we really appreciated Jerry coming. I can't wait to see the DVDs.
Oh, yeah,
Special thanks
when
for
will
coming
that
to
be
Jerry.
available? I'm glad you brought that up.
Hopefully by the end of the month. It's a long process. There's 10 different pageants you've got to create. So
I think we were hoping to have them ready for parents post.
And Jerry was there every second filming. Man, that's that's great.
And
That's awesome.
Last but not least, to all the young boys, the girls, the parents and families, we appreciate their involvement. Like I said, I'd never want to be a judge, but they all did a fantastic job. They're all winners for being in that pageant, and we hope to see them again next year.
That's great. That's good stuff. Thank you. Now for the biggie. Old Timers Festival. I guess we'll turn that over to Mr. David McGowan, who's been in charge of that all year.
It's a collective group. Old Timers Day, October 5th, parade starts at 10 o'clock. We're in the final stages of narrowing down everything we have. You guys have a packet. It should be pretty much close to updated as of this afternoon. Of course, we're still going to be taking vendors, but all of our food vendors are pretty much locked in. We've got displays. We're going to have an antique car display, tractor display, demonstrations. We're going to have cloggers, blacksmith. Cloggers, hopefully. We're still trying to reach back out to them. They confirmed, but now they don't want to. It's hard to get that contact back.
What is it?
The cloggers, like a dancing group.
Yeah, I know what it is, but what'd you say you couldn't get?
Oh, we're still trying to reach out. They did confirm, but now we can't get them to respond again. So we're just trying to follow up with everybody that's confirmed to make sure they're locked in. Blacksmith, yarn spinner, soap maker, butter churner, basket weaving. Donnie's going to be back, Donnie Fergus. As of this point, we're going to have a steam engine on display, petting zoo, 4-horse, 4-pony carousel, bounce houses on one field, balloon guy, face painter. Box 100 is going to help with the traffic. They're instrumental in stepping up. We are still looking for volunteers. We need help with the bounce houses especially and parking in the front field. We've reached out to Civil Air Patrol, the Criminal Justice Club, at the high school. So if you guys know anybody or have any leads in that direction, we'd be glad to reach out and make contact. The more volunteers we get, the more stuff we can start taking off of Box 100, because they're spread pretty thin as it is. Have our music acts lined up for the main stage. We still want to push the acoustic stage. We have not had anybody confirmed 100%. So
We do have one. We do have one confirmed. Yeah.
So we're still looking for that. If we could get 3 or 4 more, that'd be awesome. But it's going to be a busy next couple of month and a half for us. So we've got 3 or 4 events right here in a row, and we're trying to focus on Old Timers Day now to get it behind us, and then we can't wait and focus on something a week or two before. So we've got to plan 3 or 4 weeks out. But Old Timers Day is our biggest one, so we're going to try to get it narrowed down. You guys have any questions of anything that you see there?
You're talking about here about, let me go back so I don't trip over my tongue here. We want to push the events on Facebook and social media. Can we take a snapshot of some of this stuff here and post it, animals, and just some things to help?
To incorporate it on the Facebook page?
Yeah, just
So we can either do that or go back and find some photographs from past events that we've had.
Okay.
That are similar to what we've got coming back this year, and do that also.
Now, this map in the back, I know there was some questions about it before, but this is solid now?
No, everything, that map is subject to change. Probably the main part of the map will pretty much stay the same.
Okay.
Where it's subject to change is where the vendors are going to go, the crafts vendors and stuff like that, depending on how many we get and how much space we have to utilize for that. These kids zone and I think we're going to relocate the kids zone to Field 2, and then the kids zone will be on Field 1, and then the pony rides and the petting zoo will be on Field 2. Just because that so close to that road there with all that traffic, we didn't know how that would affect the animals and if that would give enough space for the kids. So we think if we centrally locate everything that's geared towards the younger crowd on these 2 fields and open up these 2 big gates here and put our balloon guy and maybe our face painter and some tents between those, so everything kid-friendly is centrally located.
David, I may be speaking out of turn, but up on the hill, couldn't y'all put the kids' zone up there where it would be away from the main traffic?
We could, but what we're trying to do is keep it
You want to consolidate?
somewhere that's confined, kind of like that fenced-in area. And on Field 4,
Yeah,
which would be the bounce houses, it's kind of elevated anyway. So you get that higher elevation, so once you pull into the park, you will be able to see those.
Okay.
Those will catch your eye pretty much more than anything
Well, I
else.
was just thinking about safety and stuff like that.
We've tried to take that back loop, the hill out of, so if we can still confine everything down. This year we're going to open up that front parking lot where the carnival was and try putting our food vendors in there, steam engine display. We're going to locate the music and the band shell to that front island as you come in. That way, when it was back on the football field, unless you were specifically going back there, you probably didn't know music was back there. So it was a shame to
True
tie
story.
those funds in that,
Right,
in those music acts, and nobody enjoy the music.
right.
So if we put it in that front field, you don't have any choice but to hear it at some time.
So I'm sure by October the 5th, we will have a new events coordinator that's not going to really know anything.
October the 5th would probably be a stretch to get somebody in here that.
Really?
Yeah. It hasn't even been posted yet,
Oh, my
and
bad.
it would have to be posted
Okay,
at a minimum.
so we'll move on. Bad bad statement.
But
I figured,
I
you
will
know,
say in the
3
meantime,
weeks.
I have been wearing Kathy out. And
Okay,
Andy's
so-
trying to do everything she can to help.
So here's my question. You talked about volunteers. Who do volunteers need to come to for a place, you know, hey, I need you over here, I need you over there? Because if we can get more volunteers, and even us as board members, if we
I think
want to.
what we're gonna, if we can get some volunteers confirmed ahead of time, that's the route we'd want to take. But I think this year we may try putting, giving each one of our staff people somebody. Like fire may report to a certain individual. Box 100 is going to report to one of our other staff guys. So each organization hopefully will have that one contact person. Senior Center knows if they've got something going wrong, they can contact me. That's the way we're not scrambling we don't have 2 or 3 people running the same errand for the same group of people.
Okay.
So if we have one contact person for each volunteer group or each organization, the music will have one contact. Any of the food vendors will have one contact. That way, it kind of controls the chaos a little bit.
The lineup for the parade's not in here, is it?
No, sir. And Chip usually
I know
takes care
Chip
of
does that. So
What- Excuse me.
when will we get, or do we just show up and he tells us what spot, or?
Yeah, we'll give him a list of stuff, and he generally puts it in an order that works out best for him. This year, I think we may try to we have an antique car display, hopefully of about 8 cars that may be involved in the parade. So we'd want them at the front because they're also going to be on display in the park once they get there throughout the rest of the day.
Okay.
David, I know I won't be here for all of this, but from back when, if you could keep, like, say, the tractor trailers and stuff like that at the very end, because I know several years with the band, I know from when my grandson was in the band, if a gentleman had not reached out and got him, he'd have been down.
Yep.
And last year was the same thing, one young man, and
Yeah, and I think on those, that day gets so crazy. Traffic control is one of our nightmares dealing with, especially once the parade hits the park, what we're going to do with all those people that are in it, where we're going to make room for them. So I think we may have a little better game plan this year. We're putting Carol on that, and so far she has some pretty awesome ideas. So that's something we're going to be working on throughout the course of the next couple of weeks to see what she needs from us that we know we've tried before, maybe it doesn't work, but her ideas we haven't tried before. So I don't think it's definitely not going to be any worse than it has been in the past, because once they hit the park, everybody wants to stop where they're at and get out to go to the stage.
right.
And that's our issue, keeping the traffic flowing.
Carol will get all army-fied on them.
He doesn't like me to get.
Well, it sounds like you have raised the bar there, Mr. David, and I just wanted to congratulate you for coming in so short and taking this thing by the horns, and with everything else that's happened, you've got some other responsibilities now. So this board, Kathy, will send us an email if there's anything we can do, or at least make an attempt to help out. I know we got children, grandchildren. Everybody wants to see that also, but maybe we all can squeeze in some time to try and help something. I don't know.
And don't leave without seeing me after this. I do have these posters printed up, and I'm hoping that everyone will hopefully take 5 to 10 and put them out at different places. Usually that was something Felicia and I would do. And as I do, I can't hit a million places now. So if you guys would be willing to just take a couple and hit up your local favorite restaurants or anywhere and just ask the manager, ask someone in charge, hey, this is for our upcoming festival. Do you mind if we put it on the door?
Did you just by chance print any out in like Hispanic or anything? Just
No, it's just what you can see on the front of the packet. It's just this. It's
Okay.
an 11 by 17. You can see it on the doors of City Hall too. But I have a big stack in my office, and
okay.
I'll bring them by to hand out before the.
Well, I guess after this meeting, the next meeting we have, we will be talking about how this went. And let's all hope that it's a good talk.
Can you tell me what the deadline is for vendor, sponsor, and parade applications?
Sponsors is today,
Today,
so it's over. But the rest is all Kathy.
I tell you, these last few months since we started talking about this has flown by. You know, I mean, we just brought it up in February. Even Kathy, when she said, "Hey, we need to get started on this," back in January, and we started mumbling about it, and it's showtime.
The other vendors, not the parade, but all the other arts, crafts, business, and so forth, is September 30th.
And for the parade, the deadline?
It was 30th, I apologize.
September 30th on that? Okay.
16th, all the rest are the 30th.
Okay, thank you so much.
So if somebody were to call me and say, "Hey, I'd like to make a donation to Old Timers Festival," I just got to tell them,
You can take the donation, but
I was going to say
whether it'll
donations
hit
are a
the
little
t-shirt.
different. I'm not necessarily ever going to turn a sponsor away. It just comes down to, you're
I
not
know,
gonna be
I'm
on the
just-
t-shirt, you're not going to be on this or that. So it's just a matter of what can we do for them and what the amount of money they're giving.
"All right, is any more questions?"
Are we going to do our free advice from old folks booth?
Man, that was I think that's great. I think that's a great idea.
Old geezers.
The old coots or something. I wish we could have come up with that a little.
The water department and the water treatment plant, I think, are going in together to have a dunking tank.
I seen that.
So if you're upset about dealing with the water treatment plant or the water department, here's your opportunity. 2 canned goods would get you, I think,
3
3
balls.
throws. Yep.
Or $1.
Yep.
2 cans or $1.
That's great.
And that's to dunk
That's-
employees of the water department?
Yeah.
That's our water billing manager, Allison Wood, and our water treatment plant manager.
And volunteers.
Wonderful.
Hint, hint. And if the weather holds up like it's doing, if the weather's holding up like it's doing, I may do it. All right, we're going to move on to Howl at the Moon.
How at the Moon, October 18th, 8 p.m. We start at the back of the park, come through town, around Bicentennial Pavilion, and then end up back in the park. Rabbit Road Racing, I believe, is on board to do the timing, and I think you may be able to register online through them also.
And please, people, advertise the heck out of this on social media, because what's going on Murfreesboro Road? The traffic's backed up and I can't get nowhere.
Every year
As soon as we
somebody
get
asks.
everything-
Every year.
As soon as we get everything squared away with Rabbit Road Racing, we'll make sure we get it out on the Facebook page. I hate to promote it if we're not ready to take the sign-ups. So as soon as we get all that done, I'll have the...
No, I didn't mean today.
Yeah, just so you know,
just when
that's why
yeah.
it's not been out yet, is we don't have the sign-ups ready yet, and I hate to push it without...
All right, good deal. All right, goblins, and goodies.
October 26th at Veterans Memorial Park, looks like 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. That's when any volunteers, vendors want to come out and set up a tent and give away candy. We'll be more than happy to have you. Bring plenty of candy.
Yeah, last year, man, my first experience as a running for office, wow. You talking about opening the gates.
You better get at least 10 large bags and then add 4 or 5 to it.
I'm telling you, that was...
Seriously.
All right, this is the new one, and I'm hoping we can keep this going and make it go over good as this zombie walk. I know everybody likes that stuff, so I don't know who's going to take this by the horn. And
I'd like to pass that one off, but it may be me, unfortunately.
well, you know what? I kind of tend to believe that Kathy Tyson should kind of be in charge.
I'd be happy
She's all about that, and if Kathy can get some ideals out to us, and we can talk about it, I think it's a great idea. So,
I'll get with David.
okay.
We'll talk.
Yeah, because I think,
We'll talk maybe after Old Timers.
Yeah, we've got so much stuff
Yeah.
compacted. Then it's hard to think 4 or 5 weeks down the road when we know that October 5th we got
think,
it down behind us.
I think Ann needs to come up with a really cool zombie picture or?
I already have my poster done, and I love it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm ready to promote it as soon as we feel comfortable
Okay.
launching the event.
Well,
We'll
then-
make sure we're able to do it and everything, and I'm ready to go.
And I'm not picking on Kathy. I just know that she knows about that stuff. And David,
I watch TV.
yeah, but come on now, you're savvy about that.
And I did want to remind you, Ann, I had talked with the new Miss Laverne this year, and I had spoke with her when I found out what she did already about this event, and she said she would be, and her mother, interested in.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes,
We haven't had a chance to reach out yet, but since our Miss Laverne who won is the one who did the special effects makeup.
Yes, and it was so
She
neat.
kind of did like a zombie
Oh,
mouth.
that's what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so
Oh,
we were
okay.
hoping that maybe she would be able to come out, and we had talked about doing make me a zombie station, kind of like old tattered ripped clothes, and then someone to do some makeup. So I was hoping to reach out to her, so I'm glad to hear she was interested.
Well, good. When
Yes,
you
she
guys
was.
get ready to talk about this, Kathy and David, and maybe you can be there, and between the three of you, and David will just sit there and do this, I know, but at least he'll be there.
Well, I know a couple of directors who do the fright type movies who live locally that we could probably get them to come, and I think one of them is under production with another movie. Right
If this zombie thing is such a big hype when this comes time, and you guys knock it out of the park, I think you're going to start something that's going to be an ongoing event. People are going to be excited.
I think it'll really appeal a lot to teens, young adults. I think a lot.
There you go. Hey, I'm excited
huge
for it.
appeal for them.
I appreciate you stepping up and filling the shoes and moving on with it.
Thank you.
It's great. I think it'll be a good time. I really do.
Yeah, we may have to recruit the library then, since you said teens and young adults. We may try to recruit some of them.
There you go.
'Cause she's got a young staff over there.
Yeah.
Take some of the heat off of us, put it on them.
All right, this next one here is pretty cool. I was actually invited to a meeting that David had with the people that are.
Well, that's going to be the playground first. We're going to hit the playground first. And then that master plan is the last one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
These were some designs that
you're right.
actually came through this morning. We have,
That's all over the place.
I think we
wasn't it?
said a month ago we looked at some initial designs that we weren't really crazy about. We were trying to utilize as much space as we could and put as much equipment in there as we could. So this is what he came back with this morning that we're kind of excited about. You can take that airplane out of there on that first page. That's where the inclusive merry-go-round should go. Somewhere we got our wires crossed, and that wasn't added in here, but that.
The old-timey merry-go-round type thing?
Well, it's going to be all-inclusive where it'll have some seats also, so it'll be ADA accessible. So,
But the kids will still be able to get sick on it.
oh yeah, no doubt.
That's awesome.
That's the fun of it.
That's awesome. That's the biggest fun of it.
But this is something that we're looking at. We wanted to bring these before you guys so you would kind of have an idea of which direction we wanted to go in. You can see the smaller structure is like for a 2 to 5 year old structure, but then we wanted to put as much in the other area as we could because, like we said, kids that are 2 to 5, as soon as they can start climbing, they want to go where the bigger kids are anyway. So even on
Are
the
you
bigger,
still having swing sets, David?
well, the swing sets that we have now, we're going to leave.
Okay.
They're still going to be there. Even if you can look at the bigger structure on the far left on the second page,
Where's that?
it even has smaller platform. So a 2 to 5 year old can utilize that also.
Here's my other question. Having experienced and lived through and somehow survived the Lake Forest playground build, are y'all going to have this turnkey with other people coming in to install it, or are you having city staff and volunteers
Oh,
do it?
the only
Because I would
thing-
recommend
The only thing that won't be turnkey is probably the demolition of what's there now. Because if we go back with the wood mulch opposed to the poured in place, we've got to get, we have to have at least 12 inches so we can compact that stuff. I don't think what we have there now will get us 12 inches of depth. I think that rubber's probably 4. The concrete may be 1 at the most, because I think when it was made, it was just poured. It wasn't 2 inches thick or 4 inches. I think it was just poured to give enough flat surface for this rubber to adhere to.
This is an opportunity also to do maybe some of the shade structures over the top. Have you all thought about that at all?
Well, he did present us with a different design that had us some shade structures. And like I said, this is not set in stone. This is by no means concrete. We were just trying to incorporate more of the net climbing and the kind of like the all-inclusive where gave us the more bang for our buck. The zip line will be included. That was
looks like
something that
fun.
is probably unique, that when we were looking at it, we wanted something that was going to be unique to Laverne that would really make us stand out, and a lot of these structures aren't readily available.
David, if you're also interested, I have looked in the past for grants for, say, shade structure. I'd be happy to get with you and Monty and share the information if in the future you want to look at that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yes.
I think we could probably add some more structure here. I think what you're looking at now would pretty much exhaust the budget that was set aside for this project, and that is with us doing we could save some money doing the demo ourselves. That is not, the figure he's got is pretty much exhausted that without us doing anything. So if we step in and do the demo, we may save $10,000. So if we save $10,000, we could look at some shade structures, but then again, we don't know at this point what we're going to have to do to get to 12 inches deep. Whether we get down 6 or 7 inches and hit solid rock and we can't go any further, then we've got to figure out we're going to have to build up. Whether that's that plastic interlocking kind of border type deal, whether that's taking the sidewalk out, expanding it, or we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. That's one of the unknowns right now that we're not really sure of.
I think you'll make Public Works and water and fire and all them very happy if you have someone else actually do the install.
It'll make us happy too.
And you too.
So take that and look at it. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We were just trying to find something that would be unique to Laverne, that we could put the most equipment into that space that we could with the budget that we had.
All right, any questions? So we'll move on to the master plan, and that'll go right back to David also.
Yep, the master plan is in its works. The beginning stages, I think 2 weeks ago, called Alderman No at the last minute, and he was able to free up a couple hours to come out and sit with us. We walked through what we wanted or where we wanted to go as a city, what we wanted to provide as far as a park and rec department. And then it was an all-day event. Then we took a tour of a city of what we could do better, where we could improve our facilities, and any available land that we thought that we had or we thought we may have somewhere in the future, what we can put there. This went from anything to skate parks to volleyball nets to expanding the area at the boat ramp, trying to work with the Corps and TWRA to work a deal out there, to soccer leagues,
Dog park.
revamping the tennis courts, just what we could do better, spoke parks, over on Brookside, where we thought we had something that we could put something. So I think it was very productive. Like I said, it took all day. Alderman No was gracious enough to come out and join us. And at our next meeting on October the 21st, the firm Reagan Smith, who is in charge of the master plan, would like to come out and give you guys a presentation to get your feedback, any suggestions that you guys have that you would like to see move forward. They're also trying to tie this master plan into the existing greenway to connect to another city. So if nobody's opposed, we'd like to send that invitation out to the Greenway Committee to join us at that meeting, since they meet behind us, to try to kill two birds with one stone. If they'd come at 6, and then that way both boards can listen to the presentation.
I do have one question about the master plan. How much community input will be involved in the master plan process? Because I feel that's my whole purpose of being here, is to be a voice for.
That's why we're bringing them in. They are contractually obligated to two minimum, maybe three. I'd have to go back and look at their contract, but they're contractually obligated to have at least 2 meetings with you guys, if not 3. That also includes public meetings, where we're going to open it up to any outside organization, be it football, the baseball league, inline hockey. If there's somebody that's interested in expanding the skate park and there's a group, we're opening it up to anybody that wants to give their views and ideas on where they want to see the Parks Department go.
And will we be using the information collected from the survey?
Yes, that's already been forwarded to them. They're going to incorporate that. They're going to take that data and incorporate it into what they're doing. And also they're going to have their own survey available also.
Yeah, they were excited to know when David brought it up that we had started that survey. And I have to say, I've never had the privilege of sitting in on something like that. Those guys are very clean, professional, and clean. I'm talking about with their presentations and things that they talked about. So I'm excited for the park. One of the things that I threw out there, and I'll say it again, is I'm not concerned about keeping up with the Joneses. I'm not concerned about how Murfreesboro's looks or Smyrna's, because we don't have the resources. But if we can get something like this and change up some things, do the own work, maybe use the mulch instead of the rubber. Kids want to get dirty anyway. They don't care about that. So I'm excited when it all finalizes and gets ready. And like you said, they're ready to come and talk to us and get our opinions.
My concern about the mulch, I know it's processed and everything like that, but so many kids have allergies that, that
Well,
would be
everything
my main
that
concern.
everything that I've personally looked at and studied is the mulch that they have now has absolutely nothing to do with any of that. So it's soft, it's impacted good, it's just and so much cheaper.
Are you talking about like the wood mulch, or are you talking about the rubberized mulch?
No, it's
Play
called Play
mulch.
Soft. It's like a certified playground mulch. So it's not like the mulch you can go to your local landscaping store and get.
Okay.
So it is.
Well, actually, it's like what's at the
That's what I
swing
was
set.
thinking.
It's like what's at the swing set.
And that is certified playground mulch.
Yeah,
Yes.
same thing, and
Yep.
and the money is astronomical. So that's one thing that I definitely will lobby for, because them kids, this stuff right here, it starts tearing, and man, they just start picking at it.
They do.
If a dog comes up there stray, he'll see that sticking up and pick at it, and and if we can get that out of there, and David's men can jackhammer that stuff, and we can get that in there, the money that we save, we can go on to bigger and better things. So next meeting will be great. I look forward to it.
Another question I ask, and I may be again out of line, but what about the dog park? How is it?
It should be in the engineer's hands now. That I know they had some money set back through their office to absorb some of those costs. So that would be the next stage, is actually getting a design and figure out how we're going to move forward, what we want to keep over there, and how we're going to go about getting the utilities there.
We just okayed at the Bowman meeting it's not an engineer group, it's a survey group or something, right? That went out there and are surveying it
Now,
to.
they may have another survey out there. I would have to get with the city engineer on that. He has been taking control of those technical aspects of it.
Okay.
Because his department's going to be heavily involved in it. And I would say his department, anything we would move forward with also out of the master plan, his department would also be heavily involved in it.
Yeah, so it's the dog park is in motion.
All right.
I mean, it's in motion. There again, government.
And when that master plan gets, its final stages and it's presented and approved, that's when, we'll bring that back. And then it's kind of what they like to call low-hanging fruit. We'll see what's the easiest thing to get and the quickest thing to get, whether it be a spoke park, whether it be redo something here or there, add a facility. So that would be where, your input would be valuable also.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions before we get to board members' comments? We won't throw the new people under the bus, so we'll start with the old ones. Miss Mary Skinner.
Well,
She's not old.
No, I mean the old members, not the old person.
The politically correct word is seasoned.
I know.
Seasoned members, yeah.
I think this meeting, I've gotten more out of it. Not that I hadn't gotten any out of it before, but especially Old Timers Day. And I'm going to hate that I'm not going to get to be here this year. And because I see that we're trying to get back to the original Old Timers Day. And that's what I have not hated but disliked the last few years, that we've gotten away from the original. I mean, I see there's so many things that's going on that we had before, like the craft set up and all these other people being able to set up where they couldn't before, the food vendors and stuff like that.
All right, Miss Deborah.
Well, we certainly will miss you at Alzheimer's Festival. I did want to say I want to keep Robert Simon and please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. I would like to request, possibly, if that's okay, that at our next agenda, well, it might not be likely to do it if we're going to have that firm coming to talk to us. It might not be feasible to do it, but I would like to request sometime soon. I'd like to see on the agenda the Lake Forest Park. I recently went back and revisited the park and took a lot of pictures, and I'd like to discuss some of the things there that I did find. I also would like to see on future agenda also the Park and Recreation Ordinance. I did watch the meeting, and I was a little bit unclear about what happens after that process. So if we could bring that back on the agenda and update us on that. And that's all my questions. Thank you.
All right. Miss Kathy?
Thank you, Chairman. I will say I am very sad to see the carnival not being here. I'm the other side of Mary Jane's comments, because I think that it did offer a lot for the children, teens in our community. That aside, I would like at some point for you all to talk about getting lights at the basketball court. I think that's the most heavily, besides the ballpark, the baseball and softball, that's probably the most heavily used. The tennis courts are lit completely up, and I pretty rarely see anyone on there, but the basketball court is all the time. People are on that. I would like to see lights on that basketball court. But otherwise, thank you all.
All right, Mr. Jensen.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be on the board. I definitely learned a lot, and this is my first step really into participating in city government, and so far it's been a great experience. I'm seeing things from a different side that I've never considered before, and I'm very much looking forward to serving on the board. We definitely discuss things at length, and I love that. I don't think things should be swept under the rug, so I've definitely learned a lot from being here today. Thank you. And I can think of a few ways, and I'm definitely going to be able to contribute to these upcoming events.
Very good.
And Miss Carroll.
Just as Mr. Jensen said, thank you for allowing me to be on the board. I look forward to working with everyone. I've watched the board meetings several times, and I think this is an awesome organization and part of the city. And I look forward to working with David, Kathy, and Ann, and it's going to be fun.
All right. So all my comments will touch on everything that Kathy and Jensen said, basically about Old Timers Day. Man, what is it? Do we go back to 1972 when it started, or do we keep up with the new. Miss Mary Jane's got a great point. Kathy Tyson's got a great point. This year's gone. It's too late to do anything about it. I think next year, if we work harder, the carnival part being up front was my biggest issue, and I was trying so hard to get one to put it in the back and let the kids go to it, because Kathy, being a grandmother, she's going to take her kids back there. But this year, that's over with. There's nothing we can do, so we'll start on working on that next year. As far as the basketball lights go, and David, I'm glad you brought that up. Back in the day when Robin was here, and I was on the board for football and baseball, I actually had her to go over there, or I didn't have her to do it, I asked her to do it. She went over to the tennis courts and went up to those lights right there and turned 2 of those lights towards the basketball court. It really worked great. The kids could see the lights were on a timer, so that might be something that you can think about.
Yeah,
and
if at one time I know they were turned, they may have inadvertently got turned back towards the court, because we do on the other side turn them out towards the field so football
That's
has
right.
light. And I know at one time those 2 on this end facing the basketball court were aimed towards there. So we'll definitely follow up with, if they haven't been, then I mean that's the cheapest solution right there to light that up.
I've been meaning to say something to somebody about it, and Kathy just refreshed my memory. So that's what we did back then. Going back to Jensen's, what he said, you see a lot of comments and things on social media that people will say things and they don't really know what they're saying, but now you do once you start coming to these meetings, because you put it on there and you want everybody to come to these meetings so they'll know what's going on. And now you get a little bit of idea of what really happens. So with that being said, and to follow up with Miss Deborah, please keep Mr. Simon in your thoughts and prayers. And with that, I call this meeting adjourned.